A middle school in Kansas had up a poster in its sex ed class that's causing some controversy. It says, "How do people express their sexual feelings?" And then it listed a whole bunch of things, some of them viewed as controversial, some of them not. Things like oral sex, hugging, anal sex, holding hands, vaginal intercourse, talking, grinding, etc., etc. And what happened is a 13-year-old girl took a picture of this and then showed her dad. And he thought it was a joke, so he called the school to figure out, and he learned that it wasn't, and he was outraged. Some other parents learned about it, and a lot of them felt the same way. Some of them didn't feel the same way, but it made news. So in 2007, Kansas updated its sex education class from just abstinence only to what's called abstinence plus, which basically means that now sex ed courses are still required to stress abstinence and say this is the best thing to do while you're a teenager, but they also provide information about STDs and birth control and stuff like that. So parents must give their permission for these kids to get into the class in the first place, to enroll in the sex ed classes, and each school district decides how to handle that process on their own. And I should also say that the idea of kids having more sex because they see material like this and they see learn about sex and education about it is not true. So studies have actually shown that kids who receive comprehensive sex ed, they're actually more likely to delay sex. So that's an important point about this. So, I mean, the question is something like that appropriate for kids in middle school to see? And at what age is it appropriate for them to see something like that? And at what age should they learn about sex? That's the debate here. And I was thinking about it a lot before the show, and I was thinking back to my own personal experience growing up in New York, in a mostly liberal area, going to a great public school. And what age did I take sex ed and did I start learning about this stuff? And I think we started learning about it in 7th grade. And I remember having very open and honest conversations with the teacher. So the class would just basically ask questions to the teacher and, say, well, what's up with this thing regarding sex? And there were questions about everything from, masturbation to coming to things in a woman's anatomy, part of a female's anatomy that they were curious about. And it's very open dialogue. And I can distinctly remember nobody ever thought like, oh, now that we learned about it, let's go do it in the bathroom. No, it was just, it's education. It's sitting in another class and learning more things about life and about reality. So it was very good. It was good that we had those classes. And I realized, look, I understand if people think, well, in 6th grade, I'm not in favor of it. Even in 7th grade, I'm not in favor of it. But by 8th grade, by that age, you have to teach the kids. And you can't say, oh, the oral sex stuff and the anal sex stuff. It's all part of learning. It's all part of education. It's all part of knowing this stuff and preventing against possible STDs and problems down the road and protecting yourself and wearing condoms and all that stuff. So by 8th grade is the latest I say that's, the latest that you should start sex education. But in my opinion, I think 7th grade makes sense. That's when I did it. And I'm not just saying that because I did it in the sense that I did it, so it must be right. I'm not a conservative. That's not how I think. Just objectively thinking about it, 7th grade makes sense because kids are between 12 years old and 14 years old, and that's the time right before they actually really become sexually active. I know I was sexually active probably when I was 15 or 16. So to learn it between 12 and 14, you know things going into the sexual experiences that inevitably happen when your body develops to that point. So you have to be realistic, and they should teach these things probably around 7th grade when they're between 12 and 14, so they know what's going on. So I actually disagree with the outrage on this issue. Could the poster have been worded differently? Could it not have been put up? Maybe, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you if you say maybe it shouldn't be put up. That's fine. I'm fine with it being up, but I'm also fine with it not being up. But the main issue is, should they discuss it in the classroom? All of those topics should be discussed in the classroom if we're talking about 7th graders here. Absolutely. They need to learn at some point, and they need to learn before they get involved with it so they know the things to protect against and how to be safe.